Welcome back, everybody, to Chaps, Many Cultures, episode 142. And today we will be talking about what it takes to move stuff around. Not just things and boxes brought to you in boxy cars that look like a box somehow. No, it also takes moving people who manage all this box moving into the right places at the right time. So today we'll talk about global employee mobility and how that has changed in recent months in the last year. So stay tuned. Hola.
Hola.
Happy Australia Day to you, Mike.
Well, thank you, mate. Yes, I really appreciate it. Yes, it is Australia Day here in the wonderful, sunny, beautiful weather of Chicago. So I'm missing the barbecue and beer part of it, but you know, it's still Australia Day. Well, it was Australia Day yesterday in Australia, so we'll stick with that too.
Well, but you get to extend the tradition into a different time zone. There
Absolutely.
you go.
I take all the holidays. I'll take them on any day. You throw them at me, I'll take them. No problem. Yeah.
So in extending stuff into other time zones and maybe extending people or moving people into other time zones, that is a job that is often referred to as mobility field, the global mobility field, or employee mobility field. And today we have somebody joining us for our episode here who does this for a living. Welcome to the Two Chaps studio, Stephanie Owens, live from the UPS headquarters, or not so much from the office, right? Stephanie, where are you joining us from?
Yes, live from my own home quarter in Atlanta, in Dunwoody, Georgia.
Dunwoody.
Yes.
Nice. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for taking time. And as we're doing that, we're asking our audience as well, where in the world are you joining us from today? Because as you might remember, this is the show about the business of culture and the culture of business. We want to know, where in the world are you watching this? Type it in the comment or chat box below. And Stephanie, tell us, what does a mobility manager do, especially at a company like UPS that deals in mobility of things, I guess. So,
That's right. Well, you said it well, and thanks for having me.
Of course.
You said it well. I mean, we move people from one time zone to another, and sometimes within the same time zone. So yes, we do move people also, in addition to packages and much more. We move the vaccine right now. So right.
Oh, you're moving the vaccine as well?
Yes.
Yes.
Indeed.
Wow.
Yes.
Nice.
I heard a very good interview with the CEO a couple of weeks back, and the infrastructure, the investment in the infrastructure and the response to it has been nothing short of amazing. I think it's great. Yeah, it's nice. Well needed.
Yeah, so that's what I do. I move people. We have a domestic program in the U.S. that I manage, and I also manage the policy globally. So working with the mobility managers across the globe. We have a team in Asia. We have a team in Europe, in Belgium.
Mm-hmm.
And we cover the whole globe.
So when UPS is moving people around the world, its own people, its top talent, that is when your department gets involved, right? You make sure that the right people are filling the right positions in the right location at the right time, correct?
That's right. And exactly right. And mobility has started becoming really in the forefront of talent selection in the corporate world, because it gives the business and human resources a good understanding of what is in play, especially with COVID-19 and restrictions with immigrations. And there's so much that comes into play that a lot of people need that understanding ahead of time to, first of all, figure out how long it's going to take. And then figure out, are we sending the right people overseas? We like to give cultural assessments because it gives people an understanding of how ready this family is to move. It's not just an individual that's moving, the entire family.
Right.
So that's where we come into play. And then, once the candidate has been selected, we start engaging the conversation, engaging the relocation management company that we have, and start the whole process. But number one, like I said, immigration is big right now, making sure you have a COVID test. And
Have you seen a change in volume of people that you moved throughout the pandemic, or did that take a nosedive when everything, well, was in lockdown in many markets around the world, or were you able to continue sending your talent into these locations and just simply adjusting the protocols and well, the policies along the way? How did that work out for your organization?
yeah, so it's a good question because, as you know, UPS hasn't stopped. We had a peak season all year last year. And so with that, the business continues to run. And domestically in the US, we have had to not necessarily slow down, but just give people more time. We give them more time to relocate. We have a very short window at UPS where we give them time to relocate. And so we give them a little bit more time. There was a lot more communication as to what does your family need? Do you feel safe going, relocating? The real estate market hasn't slowed down, but we did give people more time.
Okay.
And then internationally, we do have a lot of people that are already out there in our assignments. So usually 3 to 5 years. So they stayed there. And so whatever repatriation maybe we had in mind, we kind of delayed that a little bit. But what really we had to take a look at last year as an organization is what are we doing when it comes to giving them time to go home? We have what's called the home leave. And so we had to really take a look at how do we change our policy to address that when they cannot necessarily go back home, connect with the family, and take advantage of that benefit.
Right.
So what we've done, we've actually provided a payout at the end of the year for any unused travel, any unused budget. We give them a payout, and so that was very well received.
I can imagine.
Yes.
Right.
Does it also mean if you keep the people that had already been dispatched into their expatriate locations, so you recognize, you can't bring them home at the time frame that was previously discussed because of COVID and because of restrictions? So does that mean you sometimes had to extend their visa, or did you have to involve immigration teams to make that work, or did you find that other municipalities or administrations, governments abroad were kind of lenient around this because they recognize the severity of the situation?
Well, so let me address the first part about immigration. So yes, our job is also to continue to monitor their work visa, and they do tend to expire throughout the life of the assignment. So we work with the immigration partner with that. And yes, it probably meant sometimes that we had to extend that. Also the lease, you're leasing an apartment, you have to extend it for how long. So UPS covered whatever needed to be covered, and provided support for sure. Right. And then school was a big thing too last year, with kids that are going to school. They can't necessarily come back at any time. So we've had to extend the duration of a repatriation or delay it so that it would make sense for the kids to finish school and so forth. So every situation is unique, really. It's on a case by case. Every story is different. Every family is different.
Well, and I want to acknowledge that we have people around the world or around the country that are enjoying watching this, so you may actually know each other. Valerie from Houston says, thanks for sharing your insight. And she's with, I guess, Deluxe Suite. So thanks for watching, Valerie. I'm curious because you said every story is unique, and I would suspect yours is too. So, Stephanie, what leads somebody into your field? What brought you to managing global mobility? It's I imagine it's like juggling, right? You have multiple balls in the air at any given moment, and you need to make sure that you don't drop any. How I mean, is a circus career leading to this, or what makes you want to do this?
Well, first of all, nobody wanted to take the job, so I didn't have a choice. That was just kidding. No, it's a good question. Listen, I've always been a fan of various culture. I come from different background, German, French, born in the US, moved and lived in 3 different countries and had family in 4 different. So I get it. I get what it takes to pack and go to a new country. I personally get it because I did it. And also, funny enough, growing up, my parents had a moving company, so I kind of went full circle, and yeah, here we are.
So you were
in your
predisposed.
DNA.
What's that?
I say it's in your DNA. It was already embedded
Apparently.
in your DNA, right? Yeah,
Apparently.
yeah.
So you said you had relatives in 4 different countries. So I know a little bit about your backstory. So you grew up in Germany and
Sure.
France and the US, and
Yes.
what languages did you speak at home?
A little German, a little French. Well, a lot of French. A lot of French, a little German, and then I learned English. And in Europe, you go to school and you start learning Spanish, and then you add Italian to it, and then it all,
So now at home, what language is the dominant one in your home?
English.
English. All right.
I am trying to teach my daughter French, working on that.
Okay.
Yes.
That I would suspect that's a tough part, because Brett and I we are in the same boat. We both teach our children another language than English. So in our home we speak German. In Brett's home it is Polish. So it's always I think as parents of bilingual or multilingual third culture kids, it's a constant, I don't want to say challenge, but it's a task, right?
Right. Right, because they go to school, everybody speaks the English. That's why I do like the idea of immersion programs, because it helps that when you have one parent and maybe 2 speaking, it's better if both parents speak another language, the same language, but that's not the case. So yeah.
So you're the only French speaker at home?
I am.
Oh, that makes it harder. Yes.
Yes.
Brett, go ahead.
Yeah, when I had to ask you then, drawing on that experience and that DNA of mobility in all kinds of senses, when you're looking for talent in the actual realm that are managing, like you, do you look for people that have your experience so that they can have that empathy, so they can have that understanding of how they're managing the process? And also, I guess if I extend that to the relationship with a relocation company, do you look at these vendors and that they have these experiences so that they can provide the very best service for what you're paying them for?
That's a very good question. That's actually a really good question. So I had the chance to hire a couple of new members in my team last year. I don't know, it all blends in. What year is it?
Yeah.
It's 21 now.
And yes, I was looking for that. I mean, I have a supervisor. She's from Germany, especially she's from Africa, and another one, she's from Georgia. I had to put that in too. But I agree. I think that people that have traveled or live abroad have a different view of the world, and you know that it is something that you can't train people on. It's part of your personal growth, but your story, right? Your experience. And yes, I feel that people that have traveled and are sensitive to that have more empathy towards expats.
Right.
My previous director, he was a previous expat, and they tend to put people at that position that were expats before, because they understand the process and know what it takes, and it's painful. It's not easy.
Right. So would you say that your employer is sensitive to that issue, and make sure to promote people into leadership positions who have not only the professional experience but also the personal life experience to do the work that you do?
Listen, we try to. I really think we try to, as a company, to do that. Also the skills, because we're very conscious that there's always local talent that is available. And we always try to find first local talent. Do we have the talent locally that we can hire before we start thinking about, moving somebody from another country? So it's kind of a combination of all that. Technical knowledge, skills that you bring in, and also personal agility to do it, right? So, yeah.
I was happy to hear that you said that before you send somebody abroad, you assess the expatriate and their families, let's say, cultural intelligence or their readiness for an assignment like this. So not every company that Brett and I work with are as proactive about this as UPS is, obviously. So, and Stephanie, I would suspect you're aware of that there are other corporations out there that may take a little bit more lax approach to this. So I'm really I'm happy to hear you say that, right? Because this is something that Brett and I are trying to, or continue to, educate our client pool in, that this is not something that is a nice to have. This will be a building block that will lead to your organization's success and to your expatriate success, or predicting some of the obstacles or gaps that you need to work on in terms of talent development. So what would you tell other mobility managers or other corporate leaders when it comes to what's the word, priming the talent funnel, so to say, and global talent funnel? What will be some of the check boxes that an organization should really look into when sending people abroad?
Yes. And first of all, I knew you were going to like it. That's why I said it, trying to get points. But no, what I would say is this. Listen, and we were guilty of it ourselves for a while. We're in an environment that sometimes is very cost focused, right? And so a lot of times we try to take a look at things like that and say, oh, it's not needed, let's just go ahead and do it. But take the time to really invest ahead of time. Will save you a lot of money at the end. Because a failed assessment costs a lot of money, not only to the company, it costs a lot of money, a lot of intangible costs associated with that, with employee dissatisfaction. Then you got to turn around, you got to fill that position again, you got to repatriate. So all that money spent, it was really for nothing. You got to start all over again.
Right.
So taking a little bit of time, spending a little bit of money in assessing the right candidate, looking for the red flags, like you said, assessing the gaps, set up training, and set up continuing training too, not only at the beginning, but throughout the assignment. And this is what we're pushing right now, is continuing to have those assessments regularly so we can assess, do we have a successful assignment, right? And how do we define if it's successful? So that when they're done, we can say it was successful, this is the next step. But that's what I would say. I mean,
I'm happy, and again, I know you're winning bonus points here, but I'm happy to hear somebody in your position with a big corporate entity say this, because this has been challenged often in our field, that what aborted expat assignments. Well, how often does that happen? You're just creating a scare scenario here, and this is all your made up business case to sell your training stuff and blah blah blah. So we sometimes find ourselves on the defense justifying the work that we do. But I'm happy to hear you say that as well, right? Because it does cost a lot of money, and it will grow it will grow gray hair for you if you have to go through all this, right? So it's not just a nice to have. It's actually, well, thank you for saying this. This was awesome.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, it takes one bad experience. And we had one not too long ago, and it resurfaced the cultural assessment. And I'm sort of happy that something bad happened. It's to that point because people don't pay attention to it until something bad happens, right?
Okay, so the alarm went off somewhere.
A little bit.
Okay,
it wasn't too bad, but yeah.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brett, go ahead. Before,
sorry, I just wanted to bring up Vibas.
Yes.
Hi, past guest of ours and this is again as important as it is to prepare people for going, it is also when they come home. So he's asking, how do you ensure when leaders come back from a stint that they find the right position and career path? And this is again, as Christian said, sometimes this is a hard business case to say, how much you're investing and building in the infrastructure to support people that come home to be able to leverage their skills. I won't, I'll let you answer that, Stephanie. So what do you think is important for them to come back to a position and a career path?
And listen, we're still trying to figure it out too. It's a work in progress, but it's to my earlier comment about career assessment. How do you define a successful assignment, and what is the plan? Okay, we're sending somebody overseas, but to do what? And then what is the plan afterwards? So that's really where mobility needs to start connecting more and more with your talent strategy groups, the talent groups. And we started doing that a little more every year, and we're really going the right direction, I think. Because we're trying to connect the dot. It can't be done on a silo. It's part of not only your business strategy as a whole, but your talent strategy and how you utilize the tools that you have for career development, assessments, and tie the relocation into that, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's not always a given that there is a right position for the returnee. It's something that is dealt with on a case by case, if I hear you correctly.
Right, for sure. I mean, it is good to have a plan. I mean, obviously, when we bring them back, we have to know ahead of time where we bring them back and where we're going to put them.
Right.
So
yeah. How long are UPS global assignments typically gone? A year, 2, 5? What's the typical length of a foreign assignment at UPS?
Yeah, so it's anywhere between 3 and 5. It used to be a little longer, and then we realized that okay, you got to come back. You've been gone 10 years.
You're now an immigrant.
Yes. Well, you're actually a globalist. We do have some of those.
Yeah.
And with that, you got to start worrying about taxes, and that's not my favorite topic. So we're not going to expand on that. But yes, I mean, we try to really keep them from 3 to 5 years. So some of them do have what's called consecutive assignments. So we send them one country 3 years, and then we send them to another one, and maybe they'll go to Asia a little bit and then come back. But to the earlier point about having a plan, keeping people overseas, eventually you sort of realize, okay, so what's the plan for that person, coming back? Yeah.
And I see this with some of our clients who I've had the pleasure of working with. One particular family right now comes to mind. They're Italian. They work for an Italian company. They're currently based here in the United States. And before that, they spent, I believe, 4 or 5 years in China. And now they're nearing the end of their assignment. So they were in Shanghai and the greater Shanghai area and didn't go back to Italy. They came straight to the US from China. As you said, consecutive assignment. Now they got 2 kids. They started out with 1 boy. Now they've got 2 children. And now they're really, the husband and wife are debating, do we really want to go back to Italy? What will be my position there in the company?
Right.
Isn't there something else abroad that would maybe continue our journey. So I think a lot of it also depends on what does the talent want. Is the talent ready to come back to the quote unquote mothership or to headquarters, or do they feel quite comfortable as a serial expat, right?
Right, and not only that, I mean, think about the kids.
Yeah.
Those kids have grown up overseas.
Yeah.
Some of our expats have had kids while on assignment that were born in Belgium, stayed in Belgium, went to another country, and then know nothing about the U.S.
Mm.
Right? Even though their parents came from there.
Yeah.
So you got to think about that too, right?
Mm.
I want to acknowledge some of our viewers here that I think Stephanie is very familiar with from the mobility world. So Kristen McLaughlin is watching. Thanks for watching, Kristen, from here in the Metro Atlanta area. So is Tyler Burns. Thanks for tuning in, Tyler.
Hey, Tyler.
And we have another question from Vibas. Vibas says, is COVID changing your mobility strategy? Do you see more hesitation from expats to move and stay longer? How has the pandemic affected your work in simple terms?
Well, listen, we UPSers. Nothing
What does that
stops
mean?
us. No, I'm honest. I'm very surprised how we're ready to go. We are ready to go, whatever it takes. And eventually people want to start traveling, just like you and me. We're hungry for that travel. So there's a lot of questions that come our way. And there's a lot of guidance we have to provide as a mobility group to our leadership, to HR, and to our signees. There were times where we did not necessarily encourage those travels because we knew immigration was going to be a stop. And there was no guarantee that it would be able to come back to the country.
Mm-hmm.
And then, there's the test, that you need to take. So there's a lot of things that come into play where we had to actually slow them down a little bit. But as far as assignment, no, it has not stopped us.
So is that because, as you said, we're UPSers, so that means that there's a certain mindset when you work in that company that deals with moving stuff around the world, then it's in your blood, or it's part of your job that you don't hesitate? Is that a unique characteristic of a UPS employee?
Listen, I won't speak for the 450,000 employees, but I'll tell you this, that if there's a will, there's a way. But we do, again, we have to do it very cautiously with a lot more guidance from our partners. We relied on our partners a lot more, not only relocation management company, immigration, but taxes, and so that we're just being very careful about how we assess it. We have had much more communications with the employees, making sure, first of all, they're comfortable with it. Is there any reserve in moving? So we that is happening a lot more.
Okay.
Just a lot more conversation.
All right.
Yeah.
So Vibas, I hope that answers your question. Brett, if you don't have another question, I would like to, I mean, this would be our last question, but maybe there's another one coming up in comments or from Brett. But if a young person that is fairly early in their career and is about to be offered a foreign assignment, so
Don't do it.
It's a trap.
Thank you very much. It's a great show. Please.
Thank you. And bye. What would be your number one tip for anyone pondering that decision, going abroad? What should they be thinking about from your vantage point in your job?
I would say that. No, I would say that make sure you understand the culture. Make sure you understand the people, the business etiquettes. Make sure you do that homework ahead of time. There's lots of training available. People, especially if you've never traveled, make sure you understand that, especially, going to Asia, for example, or even Europe. There's always, it sounds very, what's the word? It sounds good, oh, I'm going overseas, but there are some transition period, and think about the family, think about the family, because the employee is one thing, and this is what we've seen a lot. The employee is one thing, because the employee will connect with coworkers, will have a job, will be busy. The family will be home trying to make friends, and that piece is what's a little bit missing somehow, is that connection. So make sure you have connection for your family over there. Get to know the spouses of other coworkers so they can get together and and that's what I heard from other expats, is have that community of expat where you're going. Yeah.
Excellent.
Just to bring it full circle, because what you mentioned at the start is the importance of the preparation, and that when we're working with clients, they're surprised about how much we dig into their cultural knowledge about themselves and what culture they come from. So that is just as important, right? So that is a part of that process, understanding the other culture and how your own values and beliefs that you bring to that table are going to either have you respond negatively or positively to the differences you see, right? And that doesn't mean that even negative responses are bad. It just means to be ready for them. And so I think that's a great investment for UPS and what you're doing there in taking that time to just do that identification beforehand, because it really gives people great insights about their own sense of self. Yeah.
Right.
For sure. Yeah.
Excellent. Stephanie, thank you so much for spending time with us today. I simply want to remind all of you who've been watching and may have missed yesterday's episode, or you were not able to see it on specifically the LinkedIn channel. We had a little bit of a tech glitch that I think was resolved now. But yesterday, Brett and I talked about how to handle the different variations of a yes answer, how that could be misconstrued in different cultural contexts. So go back on YouTube or on Facebook, find the recording on our channels. In the description to this episode, you'll find the links to Brett's YouTube channel and to mine. And we also offered you a worksheet with that particular episode on how to handle a yes that is potentially a maybe. So you can use the short link to get it. Also, again, find it in the YouTube archives. Shouldn't be hard to find. It was episode 141. And also a reminder that we are now expanding our reach into the Clubhouse, the social media platform that's buzzing all over the planet. So if you want to join us on Clubhouse, first session tomorrow, Wednesday, January 27. So that is tomorrow if you're watching this live again. So Wednesday, January 27 at 10 a.m. Pacific time, which is 1 p.m. Eastern US time. Brett and I will be hosting a Clubhouse open session. You can ask us anything. Should be interesting. So if you're not on Clubhouse yet and want to become part of the Clubhouse community, let Brett and myself know. We have a few invites that we might be able to send your way. And let me double check in the comment box if we missed anything. Here's Neil Demond, who's saying, great job, Stephanie. So Neil is giving you an applause, I'm thinking. So all of you, as you're watching, if you like what you see, give it a heart, give it an applause, give it a thumbs up, or whatever the response emoji of choice is on the device that you're using. Viva says we answered, or Stephanie answered the question, so he is good. So again, thank you, Stephanie, for joining us here today. I hope we will cross paths again soon in the real world, because you and I are not too far away geographically.
That's right. That's right. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. Two Chaps, Many Cultures, episode 142 in the can. We will see you tomorrow on here and also in Clubhouse. See you later, guys.
Bye.
Bye.